Good evening. Let us discuss the following topics: 7 habits of highly effective people, and how, by practicing these things, we can have strategies to achieve the SDGs, all the 17 SDGs of UN. I can boast myself as the so-called expert in 7 habits of highly effective people, having completed over 250 two-day batches for corporate manuals in my last 14 years of working with the corporates. That is after my retired from, firstly from the Indian Navy and thereafter from Cognizant Technology Solutions. So let's see what is in store. And before explaining about the strategies, I must give a brief about what are these 7 habits. These are contained in a book by the same name by Stephen R. Covey, written, I think, around 1989, and talks about 7 habits that anyone who wants to become effective in their life should focus on. I'll just read out the 7 habits and explain each one of them and what they are and how they can be used to apply to use for strategizing the SDGs achievements. So habit number 1 says be proactive. 2 says begin with the end in mind. 3 is first things first. 4 is think win-win. 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. 6 is synergize. And 7 is tap on the saw. Now let's see how each one of them can help us. This is a summary of what I found. SDG 3 using habit number 1, 17 using habit number 2, 8 using habit number 3, 5 and 16 using habit number 4. I'll explain each one of them. 16 using habit number 5 and 9 using habit number 6 and all 17s by using habit number 7. Let's dive deep in. Now, habit number 1 talks about being proactive. Now, being proactive is as the opposite of being reactive. When you go to a doctor and ask for some medicine and the doctor gives you medicine, and after 2 days you go back to the doctor and say, "Doctor, I had reacted to the medicine," then doctor is going to change the medicine immediately, because reaction to a medicine is not considered good. So you'll change the medicine and after 2 days you say, "Oh, now I'm responding." So there's a difference between reacting and responding. Responding is in a positive sense, reacting is in a negative sense. Responding means you choose what the response has to be, whereas reaction means you don't choose. Whatever is your default setting, that comes to the fore and you respond as per that. Yeah. So that is reaction, because you are not having a choice. So that's a new word is being coined. I mean, it is not an English word found in a dictionary, but in this context, responsibility, that means your ability to choose the response that you want to have for any stimulus. Every response is for a stimulus. Now here, SDG 3 talks about good health and well-being, promoting healthy lifestyle and well-being for all. Now let's see how this can be helped by habit number 1. Now, habit number 1, as I mentioned, stimulus and thereby a response. And if it is an unthinking response, it is called a reaction. Now, someone overtakes me rashly in a traffic situation, then I have different responses possible. I can ignore that somebody has overtaken. I can say that, "Oh, that man may be that person may be in a hurry to go because somebody is admitted at the hospital," whatever it is. I need not take it personally that he has insulted me by speeding up and overtaking me. I can swear at him I have frustration in my mind and I just fire at him and give all sort of bad words about him. Even if I don't utter those words, bad words come to my mind. I can get upset. I can become sad that somebody is overtaking me and all the people all the time are overtaking me. And I probably lack self-esteem because of that. I can get violent. People do get violent, and that is the one which leads to sort of road rage situations. Or I can choose one of them. You find that I need to get violent on that person because he has really overtaken in a bad manner, and if I think that I can probably teach him a lesson, it's okay to get violent and do that. But I have chosen that, and I am responsible for the consequence also. I hit him once or I shout at him once and I get hit twice on my head, then I can't say, no, I didn't start it. I started it. And I'm supposed to be responsible for the consequences also. I can ignore. Somebody is in a hurry, let them go. I don't care. Let me keep my calm. So choosing one that is relevant for me at that point of time, I can avoid a lot of problems. Now, if you read newspapers, you'll find that lot and lot road rage cases. I have taken an example of India here. Road rage cases in India in lakhs steadily been increasing. Maybe because the population is increasing and the number of vehicles, the vehicle population also increasing, or people are really short on their fuse, which is bad because any of the road rage cases, any of the accidents, any of the violence things, any of the bodily harm coming to somebody is bad for the country because our good health and well-being is being compromised. So it was 1.55 lakhs in 2019, 1.83 lakhs in 2020, and in 21 it is 2.15 lakhs. I'm sure that it might have increased after 2021 also. So by choosing properly, I am able to reduce the number of accidents. But I don't react unnecessarily for somebody overtaking me. I keep my cool, and as a result, I am able to contribute my bit that it is I am healthy. Not only physically, I am also healthy mentally because continuously, if these things happened, I might lose self-esteem and I might get in depression. I might become a violent person, which is bad for the society as such. So just knowing that you have choices in various things, there is a contribution to SDG 3 by choice number 1. And same thing in the case of students. Now, before that, the stimulus response. There's a recent case where two teenagers were driving a car and they overtaken they are crossed the red light, and there are two policemen stopping the car, and maybe because of fear of being caught, being teenagers, they don't have license. Maybe because of anger, how dare he stop me? Or whatever the case, whenever emotions overtake us, either any emotions for that matter, it could be fear, it could be anger, it could be even happiness, our rational thinking stops. So here they did not stop and the policemen tried to stop them. They were hit by the car on the bonnet of the car, and the car continuously moving for about 20 meters, and they fell down and they wanted to run over that two policemen and they escaped. Of course, they were caught later. So this is a case of violent road rage incident, maybe arising out of fear, but because they are not able to control their emotions at that point of time, and therefore they are not able to take it. So emotional control, as Daniel Goleman talks about in the emotional intelligence book. If you are not able to control our emotions, a lot of bad things happen, and it contributes negatively to the SDG 3 because we do all sort of rash things. It could be another case where there is a student, and these days you hear lots and lots about student suicides. I fail an examination, that is a stimulus. That response could be, I can double my effort. Yes, I did not do well today, this examination. That means I must start all over again. Maybe I should take some tuition. Maybe I can change the subject because the subject, whatever I do, doesn't get into my head. I can change the subject. I can get coaching. Or I can think that I am no good in this life. And I can only think of suicide. And a lot of suicides happen every year, especially in the very, very competitive coaching centers in Kota in Rajasthan and other places. So I can choose one of them, and there will not be any suicidal tendencies. And that will contribute to the SDG 3. 170,000, 170,000, 1,70,000 lives were lost to suicide each year in India, prompting experts to call for a broader approach to prevention that contributes beyond the mental health. There is another aspect to habit number 1. It talks about circle of concern and circle of influence. Circle of influence is there is something you can do about it. Circle of concern is, yeah, it is there, but you can't do anything about it. We complain about garbage on the roads, spitting on the roads, littering, etc. We'll complain, but then we will be the one probably contributing to that also. We will not hesitate to litter. We may not hesitate to throw the garbage. So let's see that at least ensuring that I don't contribute to the negatively to the environment. I can ensure that my garbage is stored properly and disposed of properly. I don't spit on the roads and I don't litter on the roads. That is within my circle of influence. So whatever little bit that we can do on our own, if we do that much, that is good enough. So habit number 1, by this notion of circle of concern and circle of influence, is able to ensure SDG 3 is contributed positively to some extent, at least to the individual extent. Now, instead of individual, look at the whole company. If my company can ensure that I don't dispose of the garbage generated in the company in a bad manner, if I ensure that my company ensures that it is segregated properly, that the green waste and the wet waste and the dry waste is separated properly, the society as an organization, that is the housing societies, if they take interest in ensuring that all the wet waste will be processed here and made into compost, and all the dry waste will be sent to by segregation properly to paper and plastic, etc., and all can be recycled. In fact, I stayed in a society, in a housing society in Bangalore for 3 years, where it was zero garbage. All the wet waste into compost, all the dry waste for recycling. I've done it in my own house here, and my neighbors, about 3 neighbors. We have zero waste. All the plastic is taken by the panchayats. We pay 50 rupees per month. We segregate and keep it clean. They collect it. All the wet waste is composted, and I use it for my gardens and growing of vegetables. So each one can contribute by just focusing on circle of influence. Habit number 2 talks about begin with the end in mind. Now, begin with the end in mind is, now every one of us is born with a purpose. And the earlier we come to know our purpose, the better it is for us as well as for the society, for the humankind in general. Suppose we are celebrating our 80th birthday, and we have called our colleague and a manager and team member, we called our neighbor, we called some other people, another fellow citizen of the country. Now, they are going to talk about us in the 80th birthday. What is that we want to hear about us in that 80th birthday? Do you want them to say, oh yeah, he was very good, he made a lot of money, but then the type of pollution he created was awful. You got a neighbor who says, yeah, this man always making noise while entering this housing society, and then midnight, 12 o'clock, he will come, and he is not very good in backing up the car in reverse in the car, and he will blow the reverse horn at full blast. Whole society wakes up. 12 o'clock, reversing horn in a loud manner, or loud music from his house all the time, or garbage not disposed of in front of the house, garbage cans are kept improperly. Do I want to hear that from my neighbor? Do you want to hear that from a fellow citizen in the society? Do I want to hear something bad about me from my manager, that my entire workplace wasted my energy and the company's energy? So all those things are to be kept in mind when I celebrate my 80th birthday. People don't talk negatively about me during about whatever contributions or negative contributions or positive contributions, and they must talk about the positive contributions and not the negative things by avoiding the negative things altogether. So this is a beautiful exercise to do. Call your friends and say that, okay, what is that you would like to talk about me? And if they are hesitating to talk about you, ask them to write it down or type it down and then read it out when they are gone, and don't try to guess what they have written or who has written what. So knowing our purpose will ensure that we have clear goals and vision in every aspect of life, including that of environmental conservation and sustainability. Habit number 3 is about time management. There are 4 quadrants. I normally start this particular subject by saying, imagine that you have got one more extra every day. Instead of 24 hours, every day is 25 hours. What is that you would like to do in the one extra hour that you are going to get from today onwards for the rest of your life? And people come up with things like that. Now I should get into reading because I don't get time for reading. Now that one extra hour is there, I must have quality time with my family. I must do exercise because I'm too busy not exercising and it is showing up on my physique. I must study a little bit because my promotion depends upon whether I'm knowing a particular technology. And then I say there are 4 quadrants like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. One is all about things which are urgent and important. All this crisis, firefighting sort of things. We have to do them when the time comes. 3 is all about interruptions. You are doing something busy and somebody comes and interrupts you. Oh, Vijay, can you do this for me? Some meetings, some calls, some pressing matters by others. And try to do something because it is popular for you to do that. 4 is all trivial work, time pass activities, watching TV endlessly, reading newspaper endlessly, gossiping endlessly, without any purpose. Escape activities. And 2 is the one which actually makes us effective. Preparation and planning. If you don't prepare for the meeting or an examination or some business, there will be crisis because the meeting will not go well. The presentation may not go well. Prevention activities. Car is waiting for servicing and you are always postponing that. And then one day it suddenly breaks down and then it is a crisis. So whatever is not done in quadrant number 2 moves to quadrant number 1. So let us focus on quadrant number 2 in the case of SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, because you're continuously working in quadrant 1 and then escape into quadrant 3 and quadrant 4 because you're too fed up of quadrant 1. Results in burnout, results in dissatisfaction. So decent work will not be there, work-life balance will not be there, and economic growth will not be there. You are stuck. You're like, it is running on a treadmill. You're not making any progress, but at the same time, you are doing busy work. Every year, low AQI, air quality index in Delhi. Quadrant 2 activity will be ensure that no construction activities take place during these months, which results in that suspended matter. No burning of agricultural waste happens. All those things, the quadrant 2 activities requires planning much ahead, but we don't do that and we suffer the consequences of quadrant number 1. So are we focusing on quadrant number 2 as far as the sustainability goals are concerned, or are we doing only crisis management? So focusing on habit number 3 will ensure that we are able to do systematic and sustainable work as compared to firefighting, like the case that we do every year in Delhi. Next comes habit number 4, where we have to think of win-win. If you don't think of win-win, that means we have to win and others can go to hell, others can lose. It is not going to assess systematic or sustainable development. We have to ensure that there is mutual benefit. In this case, the parties could be the customer and supplier. It could be a company and company. It can be a state and a state. It can be a country and a country. The whole world has to benefit. Last week, there was a news item that 4 garbage trucks were caught after crossing the Kerala-Karnataka border. They were transporting plastic waste from Kerala into Karnataka, and that too in the forest area, which is the tiger reserve. So here one state thinks that I can get away with transporting that waste into another state. So I am winning, other state is losing. And that is bad, because that is win-lose. I win and other one loses. Same thing could be in the case of river pollution. Whatever pollution is created in one state has to flow down the stream, affecting another state. The problems of river water dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, they get exacerbated every year when there is a bad monsoon, because Karnataka says we need the water and Tamil Nadu says our share of water is also there. So that gets into the win-lose mentality. Lose-win is the opposite, like I lose all the time. After some time, then I might have any energy left to do any work, because I'll be suffering from low self-esteem. Lose-lose, I am losing and you are losing. If I am losing, I'll ensure that you also lose. That is lose-lose, which is bad. So we should always aim for win-win, because that is the one which will give rise to justice. Because one party getting a bad bargain is going to ensure that there is going to be a lack of peace later. So peace to be ensured, justice to be ensured, and strong institutions promoting peaceful and that can be achieved when there is respect for all, mutual benefit is there. And obviously the wars which are raging in the world, whether it is Ukraine, Russia, or Israel and the neighboring countries. So all are the case of win-lose. Nobody is going to sit down and see what can be done in order to get permanent peace, because each of them will ensure, each of the wars will ensure that there is going to be negative consequences for the development goals. Now, what sustainability when you are pumping so much of chemicals into the air, where so much of human suffering is there, so many buildings and so many children, so many human resources are being affected. So definitely habit number 4, if it is done properly. So seeking mutually beneficial solutions is an ideal situation, the solution to ensure SDG 16 is. So it need not be just between countries to countries, also possible between neighbors and neighbors. And within the team, between team members and managers and other managers. Habit number 5 talks about empathic listening. And Stephen Covey's quote, which says, if I were to summarize in one sentence the single most important principle I have learned in the field of interpersonal relationships, it would be this: seek first to understand, then to be understood. This principle is the key to effective interpersonal communication. Now, SDG 10 talks about reduced inequalities. And inequalities are there because we are not able to understand other person's point of view. We want to boss over the other person. We are not able to understand what the other person is going through. It could be person to person, it could be country to country, it could be state to state, it could be company to company. So resolving of conflicts will definitely be achieved when we are able to listen empathically, including within the families. So SDG 10 by applying habit number 5. 6 is synergy. And any collaboration, any innovation, any finding a breakthrough solution which requires listening to each other with an open mind and then not being egoistic about my own solution. Oh, I suggested this one. This should be better than anybody's suggestion. No. Somebody else's contribution can probably add on to my own idea. That's where, you use methods like 6 thinking hats, various brainstorming techniques. We listen out to the other person and then we get into a better solution. And it is required in the case of environment and sustainability. So much of plastic waste is there, and if it can be converted into something, there are a lot of projects happening in India itself where roads have been built using the plastic waste. Just 2 days back, I saw young friends, 29-year-old, two of them. They started a startup 3 years back with hardly 1 lakh rupees. Now, last year's turnover is 5 crore rupees. We're converting the plastic waste, that is single-use plastic waste, into well-made furniture, not something which can be put only in the outside thing, even for your drawing room, molded furniture. So such solutions can come only when somebody thinks of what all things can be done. So synergy, habit number 6, leads to collaboration and better solutions. So in eco-friendly materials, biodegradable materials for renewable resources, renewable energy, lot of focus on solar and wind energy in India now. Ethanol blending, which was not there earlier. Hydrogen being used as a fuel on a pilot basis. Hydrogen train is going to run very soon. Waste management. Every house in society can be a zero waste housing society. Conservation efforts, AI-powered monitoring systems to track and project endangered species. All these ideas have come where there is collaboration and synergistic thinking. Habit number 7 is self-renewal. You all heard about the story of the golden goose and the gold, which was laying golden eggs. And KG school teachers, those time, I mean, some of your teachers here, my teacher at least told that the lesson is don't be greedy. But I find that later in life that greed is required. If greed means love for money, if it is not required, then I will not have any motivation to work. I need money. But the real lesson here is don't kill the goose which lays the golden egg. That means ensure that the goose is looked after well. In the case of individual, the goose is my physical body, my mental sharpening, getting knowledge continuously for whatever skills are required, my emotional well-being, and my spiritual well-being. That is body, mind, heart, and soul. In the case of companies also, same thing. The company's human resources are healthy. Company's human resources are well-trained, the technology required. The company resources have good emotional training, as well as they are able to maintain their emotional balance properly. And spiritual, in the case of companies, it will be the adherence to the company's goals. So all those things are the 4 dimensions. And same thing for a country also. The human resource of the company, not only human resources, even the animal resources of the company, of the country. That means the wildlife of the country. Everything is looked after. Their education is taken care of. Their emotional well-being is taken care of. And their spiritual well-being. That is ensuring that character in the right direction, that they don't do anything criminal activities, because nothing to do with religion as such. The loyalty towards the humankind, the loyalty towards the country they reside in, the loyalty to the environment they have to look after. So all they are looked after, then every one of the 17 SDGs are taken care of. So body, mind, heart and soul, self-reliant. And as you can see that ensuring body well-being takes care of most of this SDGs. Mind, ensuring that mind is in good place, ensure that SDG 4 is taken care of. 5 and 10 by taking care of the heart dimension, that is the emotional dimension. 16 and 17 by taking care of the soul dimension. So that much from my side. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, where the focus is mostly on the education of the youngsters, especially college students who are aspiring to get their first job. And I find that there's a lot of gaps in what they are taught in the college and what they need to have when they get into the corporate world. And if I can contribute my little bit by making some videos like this, and I also had another channel where I focus on mostly more on those students who have had the education in Kannada medium up to 10th standard. They are not as good as others. So I make mix of Kannada and English, the same subject. I also teach in various colleges on these things. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'm open to that. I'll say more of discussions rather than questions, because I think that all of you will contribute when somebody asks a question to me. Thank you so much.